Hello, and welcome to another session of Stelmo's Rants and Raves. I'm Stelmo. Let's just jump right in. So, I'm reading this article from the Epoch Times, and before I get into this article, uh, I want to talk a minute for the Epoch Times. Uh, Look, I think they're a decent news organization. But what I don't like is how they try to pilfer your email so that they can inundate you with countless emails. I find it, I don't give them my email address. And yes, for a period, there were a large number of articles that I would have liked to have read that I didn't. And they didn't make any money off of advertising on those articles that they would have had I clicked on them. And I remember there was a point in time when Rush Limbaugh was the first conservative commentator available on the airwaves and in general in the press. And everyone told him it would be a failure. And of course, it was not a failure. It was a overwhelming success. And in the aftermath of Rush, there are umpteen conservative media outlets available for consumers. And the reality is they all need to be self-sustaining. If they can't be self-sustaining, I don't think they're going to make it. Yeah, I know some people pay a couple dollars for this one and that one and every other one, and that's fine for those who want to do it. But I think what you're going to find is you have a growing public who has less and less available money available for them, and because of that, they're not going to be able to keep paying all of these things. News has always been traditionally free. And if there is any problem now, I would say it's so many outlets out there, all vying for many of the same readers. And that's perhaps why I prefer a news aggregator who peruses all these sites and sends me the most applicable things that they think their viewership wants, and it works well. So, but anyway, here's the headline of the article. It says, consumers sue Amazon for not refunding Trump tariff costs. Well, I support that litigation. Look, I believe the Supreme Court was wrong to rule against Trump's tariffs. And in that regard, I want to remind everybody of something. There was a John Roberts who was on the manifest for flying to Lolita Island, Jeffrey Epstein's infamous island. And, I'm aware of two John Roberts out in the public. Number one, there's a reporter, and I believe that the last thing Jeffrey Epstein wanted on his island was a reporter. So I don't think that was the John Roberts who was flying. The other John Roberts is, of course, our Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And he has denied that he's the person. But look, Jeffrey Epstein was only looking to have people who he could, how should we say, come under his control, visit his island. And I was hoping against hope that somewhere in the Epstein files there was proof that the Chief Justice was in fact the person who went there. But that hasn't been forthcoming. But in any case, I want to go back to Obamacare. And I never knew this before Obamacare, but we were told that what the Supreme Court does is they take two votes, the initial vote and then the final vote. Well, on the initial vote, John Roberts was voting that Obamacare violated the Constitution and was unconstitutional, which is the only the only decision that would be based on law. However, the Chief Justice changed his vote, and the reason that he claimed he was changing his vote is he believed that presidents who were duly elected should be able to enact their agenda. And my only question is how come that applies to apparently to the Democrats, but not to the Republicans, and specifically not to Trump? We know John Roberts doesn't like Donald Trump. We know many on the Supreme Court don't like Donald Trump. We know that there are some backstabbers on the Supreme Court. You know, the one I really have a hard time comprehending is Kavanaugh. Look, the law prohibits protesters at the Supreme Court justices' homes. But the Biden DOJ closed their eyes to that. And I suggest they were all complicit in it, because what were they hoping? They were hoping that one or more conservative justices became, a candidate for morticians' services, and they could then be replaced with another loony leftist whose primary goal is to destroy the country. Now, fortunately, nobody was harmed in those escapades. But you would think he would remember, because, and this is something else that I failed to grasp. And let me talk about this for a minute, because the Democratic Party has been co-opted by the Socialist Party of America. And we see socialists being elected. And I believe that that's going to continue. And it's actually going to get far worse before it gets better. And that's because I don't think either party has a suggestion for the crisis that Americans are facing caused by inflation. And inflation that is much higher than that has been reported. And it just, I don't know. It's becoming so expensive for people out there. I just don't see how, I don't know how they can lower the prices. The problem is our government is just spending too much money. The definition of inflation is an increase in the money supply. And I know there are some people saying, oh, well, they're not increasing the money supply because they're issuing bonds. Well, let me tell you what, that's an increase in the money supply. And the actual cost of prices going up is the result of inflation. It's not inflation. But anyway, we got to figure that out and work that out. And I'm glad to see somebody suing, and I hope that Walmart and others are also sued to return this money to the people. Anyway, y'all have a great day. Stay safe. Crazy world out there.